The rigged trial. The crystalline walls of the Stellar Academy tribunal chamber hummed with barely contained energy, their translucent surfaces reflecting the harsh judgment of 7 alien magistrates. Cadet Nix Vega stood in the center of the circular room, her midnight black uniform stripped of all insignia except for the silver cadet stripes that would soon be torn away. At 28 Earth years, she was ancient by Academy standards, her auburn hair pulled back in regulation style though. Rebellious strands escaped to frame her determined face. Her emerald eyes burned with defiance as she faced the panel that held her future in their clawed, tentacled and mechanically enhanced hands. Chief Magistrate Corvin, a towering figure whose crystalline body structure made him appear carved from living diamond, raised his four-armed form from the judicial throne. His voice resonated through harmonic frequencies that made the air itself vibrate. Cadet Vega, you stand accused of systematic fraud, technological sabotage, and academic misconduct of the highest order. I stand accused of being human. Nix replied, her voice steady despite the tremor of rage beneath it. Nothing more, nothing less. The second magistrate, Vashati, uncoiled her serpentine body from her specialized seating apparatus. Her scales shifted from deep purple to angry crimson as she spoke through her translator device. In the 300-year history of this academy, no human has achieved even a passing score on the quantum navigation examination. The mathematical complexities alone require neural pathways your species simply does not possess. Yet here I am, Nick said, gesturing to the holographic display that showed her exam results floating like an accusation in the center of the room. 98.2%, the highest score recorded in a decade. Magistrate Corvin's crystal form pulsed with harsh light, which is precisely why we know you cheated. The exam protocols are quantum encrypted, biometrically sealed, and monitored by 3 independent AI systems. For a human to achieve such a score is not merely improbable, it is physically impossible. The youngest magistrate, Crix, whose insectoid features clicked and chittered with each word, leaned forward in his suspension pod. Perhaps we should examine how this aberration occurred. Display the security footage from examination day. The chamber's walls shifted, becoming transparent screens that showed the Academy's central core from multiple angles. The quantum navigation exam required candidates to interface directly with the Academy's main computer, their consciousness temporarily merging with the artificial intelligence to navigate impossible theoretical flight paths through folded spacetime. The Quinn footage showed Nix entering the sterile white examination chamber, placing her hands on the neural interface array and immediately entering the deep trance state required for quantum consciousness expansion. Her body remained motionless for 3 hours while her mind navigated through dimensional mathematics that had driven lesser pilots to madness. Observe, Corvin commanded, and the footage shifted to show the Academy's maintenance tunnels. 47 minutes into Cadet Vega's examination, we detected unauthorized access to the core systems. The screens revealed a figure in maintenance, coveralls moving through the tunnels with practiced stealth. The person's face was obscured by shadows and the bulky environmental suit required in the core's hazardous sections. They connected a small device to one of the primary data conduits, worked for several minutes, then vanished back into the maze of service passages. This individual, Vashati hissed, her scales now a poisonous green, uploaded a sophisticated algorithm designed to provide examination answers directly to the neural interface. Cadet Vega received real-time assistance throughout her test. That's impossible, Nix protested. I was in quantum trance. My consciousness was fully integrated with a navigation matrix. Any external input would have caused immediate neural feedback and ejected me from the system. Unless, Crix clicked maliciously, you were trained to accept such input. Unless this entire scenario was planned from the moment you arrived at this academy 3 years ago. Director Thane, who had remained silent throughout the proceedings, finally spoke from his position at the magistrate's right hand. The elderly Zephyrian's multiple eye stalks fixed on Nix with calculated coldness. His ceremonial robes, decorated with the achievements of a dozen campaigns against human expansion, rustled as he stood. Cadet Vega represents a dangerous precedent. If humans believe they can achieve parity with superior species through deception and technological augmentation, it undermines the very foundation of galactic order. I wasn't augmented, Nix insisted. I trained for this. I studied harder than any cadet in Academy history. I sacrificed everything. You sacrificed nothing, Thane interrupted, his voice dripping with disdain. Your species has been systematically infiltrating our institutions, seeking to elevate themselves beyond their natural limitations. This examination fraud is merely the latest example. The chamber's lighting suddenly shifted to emergency amber as alarm klaxons began to wail throughout the Academy. Magistrate Corvin's crystal body flared brighter as he accessed the Academy's sensor network through his biomechanical implants. What is the meaning of this disruption? Vashati demanded, her coils writhing with agitation. Corvin's harmonic voice now carried undertones of panic. Long-range sensors detect a massive vessel approaching at quantum velocity. Configuration unknown, but the energy signature is extraordinary. Director Thane's eye stalks twisted frantically as he accessed his own command interfaces. Impossible. No ships are scheduled to arrive for another 6 solar cycles. The nearest Imperial patrol is... His words cut off abruptly, and his normally pale flesh flushed deep purple. By the 7 moons of Xanth, that energy signature, it's Imperial. Imperial? Crix's insectoid head jerked upward. The Emperor's personal fleet? Not the fleet, Thane whispered, his voice barely audible above the continuing alarms. The dreadnought itself. The stellar supremacy. The chamber fell into stunned silence. The Emperor's personal vessel was legendary throughout the galaxy. A ship so powerful it could obliterate entire star systems. So advanced that its technology remained classified even to the highest levels of the Galactic Federation. Its presence here could only mean one thing. The Emperor himself had come to this remote academy. Nix felt a chill run down her spine that had nothing to do with the chamber's controlled atmosphere. The timing was too convenient, too perfect. Just as she faced expulsion and disgrace, the most powerful being in the galaxy arrived unannounced at her trial. This changes nothing, Magistrate Corvin declared, though his crystal form flickered with uncertainty. The proceedings will continue. Guards, escort the defendant to... The massive detonation that followed shook the entire academy to its foundation. The tribunal chamber's crystalline walls cracked as gravitational waves from the approaching dreadnought compressed local spacetime. Emergency lights bathed everything in pulsing red as the academy's artificial gravity fluctuated wildly. In the chaos that followed, magistrates diving for cover, security guards struggling to maintain their footing, Director Thane shouting contradictory orders. Nix made her decision. She had spent 3 years proving that humans belonged among the stars. She wouldn't let fear, prejudice, or political maneuvering steal that from her now. While the tribunal members scrambled to restore order, Nix sprinted toward the chamber's emergency exit. Her regulation boots pounded against the shifting floor as she navigated corridors filled with panicking academy personnel. Behind her, she could hear security alarms blaring and Thane's voice echoing through the communication system. Detain Cadet Vega. She must not reach the landing bays. But Nix had spent 3 years memorizing every passage, every service tunnel, every emergency route in the academy. She knew paths that even the security forces had forgotten. As she ran, one thought echoed. In her mind, the Emperor's arrival wasn't coincidence. Somehow, impossibly, it was connected to her trial, her examination, and the conspiracy that threatened to destroy everything she had worked to achieve. The landing bay doors were just ahead, and beyond them waited answers that would change everything. The Emperor's Gambit. The landing bay stretched before Nix like a cathedral of steel and starlight, its massive doors dilating to reveal the approaching dreadnought. The stellar supremacy descended through the Academy's atmospheric shields with impossible grace for something so massive. The ship's hull gleamed like liquid mercury, its surface covered in geometric patterns that seemed to shift and flow as if alive. Energy cascaded from its quantum drives in waves of impossible color that hurt to look at directly. Nix pressed herself against the observation deck's reinforced transparent steel as Academy security forces flooded into the bay behind her. Director, Thane's voice echoed through the facility's communication system. All personnel maintain respectful distance. Prepare for Imperial inspection protocols. But something was wrong. The ship's approach vector was too aggressive, its energy signature fluctuating in patterns that suggested barely controlled power. This wasn't the measured arrival of a ceremonial visit. This was the approach of a vessel prepared for battle. The dreadnought settled onto the landing platform with a resonance that made Nix's bones ache. Steam hissed from coolant vents as the massive vessel system cycled down from quantum flight mode. The ship's main hatch began to iris open, bathing the entire bay in harsh white light. Citizens of the Stellar Academy, a voice boomed across the landing bay, amplified by the ship's communication arrays. I am Captain Marcus Vega of the Terran Deep Space Command. I come under diplomatic immunity to address crimes against the Galactic Accords. Nix's world tilted. The voice was older, weathered by years of command, but unmistakably familiar. She hadn't heard it in over a decade, not since the day he'd left Earth on a classified mission that was supposed to last 6 months and had stretched into 11 years of silence. Dad, she whispered, her voice lost in the chaos of the landing bay. Director, Thane's eye stalks writhed in confusion and rage. This is impossible. That vessel carries Imperial identification codes. How can a human? Because, the voice continued, the ship you see before you is indeed Imperial property. Specifically, it was gifted to the Terran Diplomatic Corps by Emperor Zephyr himself, in recognition of humanity's contributions to the war against the Void Collective. The landing ramp extended with hydraulic precision, and the figure that emerged made Nix's heart skip. Captain Marcus Vega wore the deep, blue uniform of Earth Space Service, but it was decorated with medals and insignia from a dozen different worlds. His graying hair was cut in military precision, and his weathered face bore the lines of someone who had spent years navigating the dangerous politics of interstellar diplomacy. But his eyes, the same emerald green as Nix's, burned with paternal fury. Behind him descended a squad of figures in advanced armor that gleamed with the same mercury-like finish as the ship's hull. These weren't human soldiers. They were something else entirely. Their movements were too fluid, too coordinated, and their weapons hummed with energy signatures that made the Academy security forces step back involuntarily. This is an outrage, Thane shrieked, his ceremonial robes billowing as he gestured frantically. Humans do not command Imperial vessels. This is some kind of deception, a violation of... Director Thane, Marcus interrupted, his voice carrying the quiet authority of someone accustomed to being obeyed. You are under arrest for systematic discrimination, academic sabotage, and conspiracy to commit genocide. The words hit the assembled crowd like a physical blow. Genocide was a charge that carried the death penalty under galactic law, reserved for only the most heinous crimes against sapient species. Nix pushed through the crowd of security personnel and Academy staff, her heart pounding as she approached the man she had spent 11 years believing was dead. Dad, what's going on? How are you here? How do you have an Imperial ship? Marcus's stern expression softened as he saw his daughter. Hello, little star. I'm sorry it took so long to get here. He turned back to Director Thane, whose multiple eye stalks were now twitching with what might have been fear. Did you really think we wouldn't notice? Did you think the systematic exclusion of human cadets from advanced programs would go undetected forever? I don't know what you're talking about, Thane sputtered, but his voice lacked conviction. One of the armored figures stepped forward and removed their helmet, revealing features that were distinctly non-human but somehow familiar. The being's skin had a metallic sheen, and their eyes glowed with soft blue light. When they spoke, their voice carried harmonic overtones that suggested artificial vocal cords. Director Thane, I am Nexus Prime of the Synthetic Collective. We have been monitoring this Academy's activities for the past 18 months. Our analysis indicates a systematic pattern of discrimination designed to prevent human advancement in quantum navigation fields. Thane's face flushed deeper purple. The synthetic collective has no authority here. This academy operates under Federation jurisdiction. Actually, Marcus said, producing a data slate from his uniform, as of 72 hours ago, this academy has been placed under joint Terran Imperial investigation. The charges are quite serious. The slate projected a holographic display that made several academy officials gasp. It showed examination records, communication logs, and most damning of all, financial records linking Thane to a supremacist organization called the Purity Coalition. For the past 5 years, Marcus continued, Director Thane has been systematically rigging examinations to ensure human failure. The quantum navigation protocols were specifically modified to be incompatible with human neural architecture. Every human who has attempted the advanced certification has been subjected to impossible conditions. That's not true, Thane protested. Humans lack the cognitive capacity for... My daughter scored 98.2%, Marcus interrupted, on an examination designed to be impossible for humans to pass, which means either she's extraordinarily gifted, or your modifications aren't as effective as you believed. Nix stepped forward, her mind racing. The security footage from the maintenance tunnels. Someone was helping me? Marcus nodded. Nexus Prime's people. They've been working to neutralize Thane's sabotage for months. The algorithm that was uploaded wasn't giving you answers. It was removing the artificial barriers that were designed to block human neural patterns. This is absurd. Thane's voice cracked with desperation. Even if what you say is true. What? Does it matter? Humans are inferior, they're emotional, unpredictable, dangerous. They'll destabilize the entire galactic order if given advanced technology. The landing bay fell silent except for the hum of the dreadnought's systems. Then Marcus spoke, his voice deadly quiet. Director Thane, I want you to look at my ship, really look at it. Thane's eye stalks focused on the massive vessel, and slowly his expression changed from defiance to confusion to dawning horror. That ship, Marcus continued, was designed by human engineers working with Imperial technology. It's powered by quantum drives that my daughter helped calibrate. Its navigation systems use algorithms developed by the Terran Deep Space Command. And its crew, every single member, is human. Impossible, Thane whispered. The war against the Void Collective has been raging for 3 years, Marcus said. A war that the Galactic Federation was losing until humanity joined the fight. Our emotional unpredictability made us immune to the Void's psychological warfare. Our dangerous creativity allowed us to develop weapons and tactics that turned the tide of battle. And our supposed cognitive limitations proved to be the key to understanding quantum consciousness itself. Nix felt the pieces falling into place. That's why you left Earth. You weren't on a diplomatic mission. You were fighting in a war. A war that's now over, thanks in large part to human pilots like you, Marcus confirmed. Emperor Zephyr didn't just give us this ship. He's invited humanity to become full partners in the Galactic Federation. But there are those who would prevent that from happening. Director Thane made a desperate lunge toward a control panel, but one of the synthetic warriors moved with liquid speed, intercepting him before he could reach it. Lights began flashing throughout the landing bay as security systems activated. He's trying to activate the Academy's defense grid, someone shouted. If I can't stop humanity's advancement, Thane snarled, then I'll make sure this Academy and everyone in it becomes a monument to the folly of elevating inferior species. The bay's massive doors began to iris shut as automated weapon systems emerged from hidden recesses. But Nix was already moving, her training taking over as she sprinted toward the nearest access terminal. The defense systems are quantum locked, she called to her father. I need to interface directly with the Academy's core AI. Nix, no, Marcus shouted. The feedback could kill you, but she was already placing her hands on the neural interface array, feeling the familiar sensation of her consciousness expanding beyond the boundaries of her physical form. The Academy's AI was vast, complex, and currently under the influence of Thane's override codes. But Nix had spent 3 years learning its patterns, understanding its quantum architecture. She dove deeper into the system than she had ever gone. before her consciousness merging not just with the navigation protocols but with the Academy's entire computational matrix. She felt the defense systems like thorns in her mind, their destructive potential building toward catastrophic release, and then in a moment of perfect clarity she understood. The quantum consciousness that made humans effective navigators wasn't a limitation to be overcome. It was a strength to be embraced. Where other species interfaced with AI through rigid protocols and mathematical precision, humans brought intuition, creativity, and the chaotic spark of true consciousness. The defense systems fell silent as Nyx's influence spread through them like ripples in a pond. Weapon systems powered down, security locks disengaged, and the bay doors reopened to reveal the star-filled sky beyond. When she finally disconnected from the interface, she found herself surrounded by applause. Academy cadets, instructors, and even some of the tribunal magistrates were clapping, their faces showing a mixture of amazement and newfound respect. 98.2%, she said to her father with a tired smile. And I wasn't even trying that hard. Marcus wrapped her in a fierce hug. Welcome to the Galactic Federation, Quantum Navigator Vega. Your real training starts now. As Director Thane was led away in neural restraints, Nyx looked up at the stars visible through the landing bay's open doors. Somewhere out there, an entire galaxy awaited exploration, and for the first time in her life, she was truly free to reach for it. The age of human space exploration had begun, and Nyx Vega would be leading the way.